The Discovery captain Marcus Kane had seen many dead worlds in his 15 years as a salvage operator, but Kepler 4 to see felt different. The planet's crimson sky stretched endlessly above ancient spires that pierced through layers of accumulated dust and time. His boots crunched against crystallized sand as he approached what appeared to be a massive temple. Complex, its architecture unlike anything in human records. Another day, another credit, Marcus muttered into his helmet's calm system, his weathered face reflecting years of dangerous expeditions across the galaxy's forgotten corners. The neural scanner on his wrist painted holographic overlays across his vision, highlighting potential salvage opportunities in electric blue. Most readings showed standard archaeological debris, but one signature blazed like a beacon from the temple's heart. The massive doors had long since crumbled, leaving Marcus to navigate through corridors filled with alien hieroglyphs. Each symbol seemed to pulse with faint bioluminescence, as if the very walls remembered their creators. His pulse rifle hung ready at his side, though experience had taught him that the greatest dangers on dead worlds were usually structural collapses rather than hostile life. The central chamber took his breath away. Massive pillars supported a dome that opened to the alien sky, and in the center sat a throne carved from what looked like black diamond. Upon it rested a figure that made Marcus's scanner readings spike into the red zone. She appeared humanoid but distinctly alien, with elegant features that seemed both familiar and utterly foreign. Her skin had the appearance of polished marble, and she wore armor that flowed like liquid metal across perfectly sculpted curves. "Well, aren't you something special?" Marcus whispered, circling the statue with professional appreciation. The craftsmanship was extraordinary, every detail rendered with impossible precision. According to his scanner, the figure was composed of materials worth more than his ship, his equipment, and probably his life combined. This was the find of a lifetime. He approached cautiously, checking for obvious traps or structural weaknesses. The figure sat in regal repose, one hand resting on the throne's arm, while the other lay across her lap. Her face held an expression of serene determination, as if she had chosen this eternal rest rather than having it forced upon her. "Let's see what you're made of, beautiful," Marcus said, reaching out to tap the armor covering her chest. Instead of cold stone, his finger sank slightly into something warm and yielding. A network of hairline cracks immediately spread outward from his touch point, glowing with inner light like veins of molten gold. Marcus stumbled backward, his heart hammering against his ribs. The statue's eyes slowly opened, revealing irises that shifted between deep purple and brilliant silver, with fluid grace impossible for someone who had been motionless for centuries. She turned her head toward him and spoke in a voice like distant thunder. "At last," she said, her words carrying weight that seemed to resonate in his bones. "I have waited so very long." The awakening woman rose from her throne with movements that defied physics, stone fragments falling away like shed skin to reveal flesh that shimmered with an otherworldly luminescence. Marcus found himself frozen in place, his salvage training warring with instincts that screamed about dangerous first contacts. She was beautiful in a way that made human aesthetics seem crude. By comparison, her features holding proportions that suggested intelligence and power in equal measure. "I am Zephyra, last empress of the Valdoran Star Empire," she announced, her voice gaining strength with each word. The cracks spreading across her form widened as more of the stone facade crumbled away, revealing armor that seemed to be part of her body rather than worn over it. "And you, small one, have awakened me from the long sleep." Marcus managed to find his voice, though it came out as a croak. "Marcus Kane, independent salvage operator. And you're supposed to be extinct." He gestured weakly at the ruined temple. "Around them, this whole civilization's been gone for at least 3,000 years. Zephyr's expression shifted to something resembling sorrow. 3,000 years, she repeated, the words heavy with loss. "Then my people's sacrifice was in vain. The devourer ships still consumed our worlds despite everything we tried." She stepped down from the throne platform, her movements sending small tremors through the ancient stones. "Devour ships?" Marcus asked, his hand instinctively moving toward his sidearm. "Any technology that could preserve someone for 3 millennia. was far beyond human understanding, and the implications were staggering. Machines that consumed entire star systems, Zephyra explained, her eyes growing distant with memory. They came from the void between galaxies, turning matter into energy to fuel their endless hunger. My people developed the stasis protocol as a last resort, hoping to preserve our knowledge until the threat passed. She looked at Marcus with those impossible eyes. But you are not Valdoran. What species are you? Human, Marcus replied, surprised by how steady his voice sounded. From Earth. About 40 light years from here. He gestured at his equipment. We've been exploring this sector for the past 50 years, cataloging dead civilizations and recovering useful technology. Zephyra moved closer, her presence both intimidating and strangely comforting. Humanity, she mused, reaching out to touch his face with fingers that felt like warm silk. I sense great potential in your kind, young but adaptable, curious yet cautious. Her touch sent electric sensations through his nervous system. The awakening touch creates a neural bridge between us. I can see fragments of your memories. Your world. Marcus felt his knees go weak as images flashed through his mind. Cities of glass and steel, ships sailing between stars, humans spreading across the galaxy with determination that impressed even this ancient empress. But underlying it all was a growing awareness of something else. A connection forming between his consciousness and hers that felt both intimate and overwhelming. This is impossible, he whispered, though part of him knew he was lying. The sensation of her thoughts brushing against his was becoming familiar, natural even. Many things that seem impossible are simply poorly understood, Zephyra replied, with a smile that made his pulse race. Your species shows remarkable adaptability. The neural bridge that would take most beings years to develop has formed between us in mere moments. The temple suddenly shook as something massive struck its outer walls. Dust cascaded from the ancient ceiling while Marcus's threat detection system screamed warnings directly into his brain. Through their new connection, he felt Zephyra's sudden alarm mixed with grim recognition. They have found us, she said, her voice taking on a harder edge. The Harvester fleet, they followed the awakening signal. The pursuit. Marcus's scanner painted the approaching threat in stark detail. 3 massive vessels descended through Kepler-4 to seize atmosphere, their hulls gleaming with technology that made human engineering look primitive. Each ship was easily the size of a small city, bristling with weapons that could reduce the temple to vapor in seconds. Harvester fleet, Marcus asked, though he was already moving toward the temple's rear exit. His years of salvage work had taught him when to fight and when to run, and this definitely fell into the running category. Automated systems left behind by the Devourer civilization, Zephyra explained, keeping pace with him effortlessly despite having been motionless for millennia. They seek out awakened Valdoran technology and consume it to fuel their own systems. Her armor began to shift and change, becoming more streamlined as they moved. My awakening has marked us both for harvesting. They burst from the temple's rear entrance into the crimson twilight of the alien world. Marcus's ship, the Wanderer, sat on a rocky outcropping about half a kilometer away. It wasn't much to look at, a battered freight hauler he'd modified for long-range exploration, but it had gotten him out of worse situations than this. That vessel is yours? Zephyra asked, and Marcus could sense her assessment through their neural link. The ship was crude by her standards, but possessed a rugged reliability that impressed her. She's not pretty, but she's fast and tough, Marcus replied, helping Zephyra navigate the rocky terrain. Behind them, the temple exploded in a pillar of superheated plasma as the Harvester ships opened fire. Can you pilot Valdoran technology? Because my ship's computer might not be compatible with whatever systems you're carrying. Zephyra's eyes gleamed. I am the living repository of my civilization's knowledge, including their most advanced starship designs. But first, we must reach your vessel alive. The Harvester ships had deployed smaller attack craft, sleek predators that moved through the air like hunting insects. Energy beams lanced down from above, turning the rocky landscape into fields of molten glass. Marcus pulled Zephyra behind, a boulder formation as superheated air washed over them. This is insane, Marcus muttered, checking his rifle's charge. The weapon was designed for dealing with hostile wildlife, and the occasional pirate. Not automated killing machines from an extinct civilization. No, Zephyra corrected, her armor's surface beginning to glow with inner light. This is survival. She pressed her palm against the boulder they sheltered behind, and Marcus watched in amazement as the stone began to change, flowing like liquid to form a protective barrier with firing ports. How did you? Marcus began. Molecular manipulation, Zephyra explained. All matter responds to the proper frequencies. Your species will learn this eventually, though perhaps not in time to save us today. She moved to one of the firing ports, her hands shaping the stone into something resembling a weapon. We need to reach your ship before they can establish a full containment field. Marcus nodded, understanding flickering through their mental link. The harvester ships were methodical, setting up a perimeter before closing in for the kill. But that methodology could be exploited if they moved fast enough. When I give the signal, run straight for the ship, Marcus said, taking aim at the nearest attack craft. Don't look back, don't deviate, just run. What about you? Zephyra asked, concern flowing through their connection. Marcus grinned, feeling more alive than he had in years. I'm going to give them something to think about. He triggered his rifle's overcharge mode, knowing it would probably burn out the weapon, but hoping to buy them precious seconds. The energy bolt that erupted from his rifle was 3 times larger than normal, striking the lead attack craft and sending it spiraling into the ground in a shower of sparks. Now, Marcus shouted, and they ran. The escape Heath Wanderer's engines were already spinning up as Marcus and Zephyra reached the cargo ramp. His ship's AI, programmed with years of his own emergency protocols, had detected the approaching threat and begun launch preparations automatically. They stumbled inside as energy beams scorched the air around them. The ramp ceiling just as a harvester attack craft strafed their position. Hold on, Marcus shouted, throwing himself into the pilot's seat. The Wanderer lifted off with none of the grace of advanced civilizations, relying instead on raw power and stubborn engineering to claw its way skyward. Through the neural link, Marcus felt Zephyra's fascination with human technology's brutal effectiveness. Your propulsion system is remarkably inefficient, she observed, strapping herself into the co-pilot's seat. Yet somehow it produces twice the thrust-to-weight ratio of comparable Valdoran designs. We build things tough where I come from, Marcus replied, executing a rolling dive that sent them skimming across the planet's surface at barely 50 meters altitude. The harvester ships were repositioning to intercept them, their massive forms blotting out sections of the sky. Sometimes brute force works better than elegance. Zephyra placed her hand on the ship's control console, and Marcus felt her consciousness expand through the Wanderer's systems. May I? She asked, though she was already integrating with the ship's computer core. I can optimize your vessel's performance without damaging its basic systems. Marcus felt the change immediately. The engines smoothed out, their harsh roar becoming a deep purr of perfectly balanced combustion. The ship's responses became more precise, as if it had suddenly remembered how to fly properly. They pulled into a steep climb that should have been impossible for a freight hauler, accelerating toward the edge of space. That's incredible, Marcus breathed, watching his performance indicators climb into the green for the first time in years. How did your species builds machines with enormous untapped potential, Zephyra explained, her consciousness still distributed through the ship's systems. You simply lack the knowledge to access it fully. Through their link, Marcus caught glimpses of the modifications she was making, subtle adjustments to fuel mixture, magnetic field alignments that improved efficiency by orders of magnitude, structural reinforcements that made the hull stronger without adding mass. The first harvester ship opened fire just as they broke atmosphere, massive energy beams that could have vaporized a small moon. But the Wanderer was no longer the same vessel that had landed on Kepler-4 to see. It twisted through the barrage like a dancer, its enhanced systems allowing maneuvers that should have torn it apart. Jump coordinates, Marcus asked, his hands flying over controls that now responded with inhuman precision. Anywhere but here, Zephyra replied, then paused. Wait, there is something I must retrieve first. Her expression grew determined. The Valdoran archive. Marcus felt her memories through their connection. a hidden facility, buried deep within the system's asteroid belt, containing the accumulated knowledge of an entire civilization. But it was also heavily defended and probably swarming with more harvester ships. That's suicide. Marcus protested. Those things will be all over that facility. Without that knowledge, the harvesters will eventually consume everything in this sector of the galaxy, Zephyr replied. Including your Earth. Her eyes met his, and Marcus saw the weight of responsibility she carried. I am the last of my people. This burden falls to me alone. Marcus stared at her for a long moment, feeling the sincerity of her purpose through their neural bond. Then he grinned and adjusted their course toward the asteroid belt. Well, when you put it like that, how can I refuse? Besides, I've always wanted to see what 3,000-year-old alien archives look like. Zephyr's expression shifted to something that might have been amazement. You would risk your life for people you've never met, knowledge you don't fully understand. It's what humans do, Marcus replied with a shrug. We're stupid that way. The Archiveth Valdoran archive hung in the shadow of a massive asteroid, its crystalline structure nearly invisible against the starfield until they were almost upon it. The facility was beautiful in an alien way, its surfaces reflecting and refracting light in patterns that seemed to shift and dance. But Marcus's sensors also detected the 3 harvester ships patrolling its perimeter, their movements precise and predatory. The archive's defenses should still be functional, Zephyr said. Her hand pressed against the Wanderer's console as she communed with systems Marcus couldn't even detect, but activating them will alert the harvesters to our presence. How long do we need to download everything? Marcus asked. Studying the patrol patterns of the enemy ships, they were methodical but predictable, which gave him an idea. The complete archive would take hours to transfer, Zephyr admitted, but the critical knowledge, the information needed to counter the harvester threat, that could be extracted in minutes. Marcus nodded, his mind already forming a plan. Then we go in fast and dirty. Can you access the archive systems remotely once we're in range? Yes, but Zephyr began. No buts, Marcus interrupted. Trust me on this one. He cut the engines and let the Wanderer drift toward the facility, using the asteroid's gravity well to mask their approach. The ship's enhanced systems kept them invisible to the harvester's scans until they were almost within the facility's defensive perimeter. Now, Marcus whispered, and the archive suddenly blazed to life. Ancient weapons systems that had slept for millennia awakened, sending streams of coherent energy toward the harvester ships. The attack caught them completely off guard, and for a moment it seemed like the archive's defenses might actually drive them off. But the harvesters adapted quickly, their shields absorbing the energy barrage while they maneuvered for counterattack. Marcus used those precious seconds to dock with the archive's emergency port, feeling the ship shudder as docking clamps engaged. I'm in, Zephyr announced, her consciousness now distributed between the Wanderer and the archive. Beginning data extraction. The harvesters are breaking through the defensive grid. We have perhaps 2 minutes. Marcus watched the tactical display as the enemy ships systematically destroyed the archives. Weapons, each explosion sent vibrations through the facility's structure, and he could see hull breaches spreading across the crystalline surface. 90 seconds, Zephyr reported, her voice strained with the effort of maintaining connections to multiple systems. While downloading terabytes of data, one of the harvester ships broke through the defensive line and opened fire on the archive. Directly, the beam struck just 50 meters from their docking port, and Marcus felt the Wanderer lurch as part of the station vaporized. 60 seconds, Zephyr said, her form beginning to glow as she pushed her abilities to their limits. The archive's structure was failing, crystalline walls cracking under the sustained bombardment. Marcus activated the ship's emergency undocking protocols, knowing they might have to leave at any second. 30 seconds, Zephyr gasped, and Marcus could feel her pain through their neural link. The strain of interfacing with so much ancient technology was taking its toll. A harvester ship appeared directly in front of them, its weapons charging for a point-blank shot. Marcus triggered the Wanderer's enhanced engines, pulling them away from the dock just as the enemy fired. The beam passed through the space they had occupied moments before, striking the archive's core. Got it, Zephyr announced as the facility exploded behind them. The complete defensive protocols, the location of other archives, everything. We need to fight them. Marcus grinned as they accelerated away from the expanding debris field. The Harvester ships in pursuit. So where to now, Your Majesty? Earth could use some advance warning about these things. Zephyr smiled, her consciousness still partially merged with his ship's systems. Earth, she agreed. But first, we must gather allies. The knowledge I carry will be useless without ships and warriors brave enough to use it. I know just the place, Marcus replied, setting course for the frontier worlds. A few independent colonies that don't ask too many questions and aren't afraid of a fight. As they jumped to hyperspace, leaving the Harvester ships behind, Marcus felt something he hadn't experienced in years. Hope. He had awakened more than just an ancient empress from her stone prison. He had awakened the possibility of victory against an enemy that had seemed unstoppable. Through their neural link, he felt Zephyr's agreement. Together, human determination and Valdoran knowledge might just be enough to save the galaxy.